I used to think ghosts were wisps of smoke, pale things that clung to walls and whispered at night. But the man I saw on the bike was solid. Too solid. His smile was too familiar. His eyes too alive for someone who'd been dead 9 months. Have you ever seen a ghost that looks exactly like a living person? Not a flicker in your peripheral vision. Not a shadow, but flesh, bone movement? That's what I saw. 9 months ago, my neighbor Nick supposedly took his own life. That's what they told us. That's what the police report said. But I never believed it. Never. Too many things didn't add up. The bruises on his arms no one could explain. The missing phone records. The note that appeared in handwriting that looked nothing like his. Nick had been the kind of man who laughed too loud, fixed kids' bikes on weekends, and stayed outside until dark talking about old farm stories. Suicide? It just didn't fit. I live in a neighborhood built over what used to be the farmland of the county poor farm. The high school down the road even has a plaque about it. A place of mercy and hardship. That's what it says. But anyone who grew up here knows the whispers. Unmarked graves. Workers who vanished. The barn fires that never went out. This land has always been heavy with something. Our house, like my neighbors, has always had company. Ghosts. Friendly ones. Or so we thought. They never did anything dangerous. They just reminded you they were there. A cool brush on the back of your neck. A door closing softly. The sound of your name when no one's home. After my father died, things shifted. He didn't believe in ghosts. He used to scoff at me when I talked about them. But after he passed, he took over as our chief haunter. Dad always loved anything electrical. Even now, I can still picture him fiddling with wires, muttering under his breath. After he died, strange things happened. The microwave going off at random whenever my son was sneaking food at night. My dancing Santa decoration playing on its own, over and over his favorite holiday joke. The grand finale, my bedroom TV flicking on by itself while my son and his friends were on the computer, looking at things they shouldn't. It happened so often they finally unplugged the TV. But even unplugged, it kept coming back on. The boys got so scared they smashed the power button in. Broke it. That's when Dad's antics stopped. I always thought he'd chase the other ghosts off, made the house his own. And I missed it. The sense that someone unseen was looking out for us, even if it was unnerving. It's been quiet for months. Too quiet. Until Nick died. From the night of his death, my lights started flickering. Not the random kind of flicker you get from bad wiring. This was deliberate, sharp, patterned. I'd say, "Hello, Nick," and the light would flicker once and answer. Then nothing. Then, hours later, another flicker. It became routine. It became normal. But then, a few days ago, I was outside with my son. He's grown now when it happened. A man on a bike, riding so fast his shirt ballooned behind him, grinning, waving. And I swear to you, he looked exactly like Nick. I smiled and waved back before my brain caught up to what my eyes were telling me. My son turned to me, frowning. "Who was that?" he asked. I hesitated, because I wasn't sure how to answer. He looked just like Nick. I said finally, "But it can't be, can it?" My son didn't get a good look at him. Only saw a man on a bike, waving. But for me, it's been eating at me ever since. The way his face lit up in that familiar smile. The way his bike creaked. Nick's bike always did that. And he was headed in the direction of Nick's house. I miss Nick. I miss his jokes, his laugh, the way he'd call out across the yard. But seeing him, or someone who looked exactly like him, brought something else with it. A heaviness, a coldness in my stomach. I saw my grandfather the same day he died. He wasn't transparent. He wasn't missed. He was there, as if alive. Other than him, I've never seen another ghost. Until 2 days ago. And I can't stop thinking about it. Have any of you experienced this? Have any of you seen the dead riding by as if nothing ever happened? Because I don't think it's just a ghost. I think Nick is trying to tell me what really happened. After the man on the bike passed, I went inside. My son stayed outside a moment longer, staring down the road. When he finally came in, his face was pale. He didn't speak. That night, the lights flickered again. Not the single flicker of greeting, I'd grown used to. This time it was erratic, fast, almost frantic, like a Morse code I couldn't understand. I whispered, "Nick?" But no answer came. I stood there in my kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator filling the silence. My hands were trembling. It's one thing to tell yourself ghosts are harmless. It's another to feel one trying to speak. The clock on the wall ticked. Tick, tick, tick. And then the smell hit me. Wet earth, like overturned soil after a rainstorm. I checked my shoes. Dry. Checked under the sink. Nothing. But the smell filled the room, raw dirt like a freshly dug grave. I turned off the kitchen light and stood in the dark. The flickering stopped instantly. The smell faded, but something had shifted. The next morning, I walked past Nick's house. The blinds were drawn. The yard was overgrown. His bike, Nick's rail bike, still leaned against the porch. The back wheel wore from the crash they said here before as a suicide. The air around the house always felt heavy, but now it was worse. A pressure on my chest. My ears rang faintly, like I'd stepped too close to the speaker. I remembered what they'd whispered at the funeral. That poor man. No one knew he was suffering. But there had been no family at the service. No one to take his belongings. No will, no papers. Just a sudden death in a locked house. The police tape had long since been removed. But I swore I saw movement behind the blinds as I passed. Someone pulling them back for just a second. When I blinked, the slit was gone. That night, my son finally spoke. We were sitting in the living room, no TV on, just the low hum of the heater. "Mom," he said, "the man on the bike, you saw his face clearly, right?" "Yes," I said slowly. I didn't want to say anything before, but I didn't see his face at all. "What do you mean?" I mean, he swallowed hard. He didn't have one. Not like a blur, not like I missed it. There was just nothing there. A chill swept through me. My stomach clenched. "Maybe you just didn't get a good look." I tried. No, his voice was flat. I looked right at him. There was no face. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay awake, listening to the house creak. At 2:11 a.m., the TV in my bedroom turned itself on. The screen was black, but humming. I reached for the remote, then froze. Across the screen, a pale green line scrolled slowly, like an old text ticker. Words formed, jagged and broken. "Help me?" I sat up. My heart was hammering. "Nick," I whispered. The smell of dirt came back, stronger this time. Damp, choking. I coughed, covered my nose. The TV blinked. Another line of text. "Farm." And then, "Before." Before what? I thought, before he died? Before the house? Before the farm was torn down? The screen went black. The next morning, I dug out an old box of papers, newspaper clippings I collected over the years about the County Poor Farm. There were stories of disease, unmarked graves, patients who disappeared. But one article caught my eye. Body found near former County Poor Farm. Police investigating possible foul play. The date? 11 months ago. 2 months before Nick killed himself. The victim had never been identified. Male, mid-30s, found in a shallow grave. The case had gone cold. That night, as I tried to sleep, my phone buzzed on a nightstand. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. But when I listened, there was no voice. Just the creak of bike pedals, the click of a chain, and then a whisper, faint but unmistakable. Not suicide. Something in this town's soil is wrong. And whatever happened to Nick, whatever's buried out there, isn't staying buried. Those two words looped over and over, even when I tried to convince myself it was a prank, a glitch, or anything else. But deep down, I knew that voice. I knew the rhythm, the breath between the words. It was Nick. And that night, the lights didn't flicker. They burned. Every bulb in the house glowed brighter than normal, a white that hurt to look at. My son came running down the hall, shielding his eyes. "Mom, what's happening?" Before I could answer, every light went out at once. Darkness swallowed us whole. Then, from somewhere deep in the walls, the sound of chain creaking. Slow, rhythmic, like the turning of bike pedals on old metal. The next morning, I told my son I needed to see the farmland. He didn't want to come, but I insisted. The county poor farm wasn't far, maybe a 10-minute drive, but it might as well have been another world. The air felt thicker the moment we crossed a wooden fence. The fields were silent. No birds, no wind, just stillness. We followed the dirt trail that ran behind what used to be the main barn. Now it was a skeleton of blackened wood, half collapsed, the smell of rot and old rain rising from it. I felt a pull in my chest, like invisible fingers guiding me. And then, under the shadow of a dead oak, I saw it, a shallow dip in the earth. Fresh soil scattered loosely, as if something had been disturbed. My son's voice broke the silence. "Mom, look." He pointed down. Embedded in the dirt was a small, rusted metal tag, the kind you'd find on a hospital bracelet. It read, NF27, Nick's initials. I don't remember falling to my knees, but I did. My hands dug into the dirt without thinking, clawing through the soil until my fingers struck something hard. Wood. Splintered. Then the smell hit me, not just earth this time. Decay. My son grabbed my arm. "Stop. Please stop." I froze. My fingernails were packed with black soil. The ground trembled slightly, like a breath beneath us. And then, I heard it, a voice, muffled but clear, rising from beneath the earth. "Find me?" We ran. I don't even remember getting back to the car. When we finally got home, my clothes still smelled of the field. I threw them in the washer and sat on the kitchen floor, shaking. That's when the flickering began again. One long flash, two short ones, one long, over and over. I grabbed a pen and wrote down the pattern. It took me a while to realize what it was. Morse code. When I decoded it, the message was simple. They buried me wrong. That night, my dreams were filled with the sound of Nick's bike, the squeak of the chain, the crunch of tires on gravel. I woke up gasping, my sheets damp with sweat. At 3:09 a.m., my bedroom door creaked open on its own. I stared into the darkness, my pulse pounding in my ears. A figure stood there. Not mist, not shadow. Solid. Human. It was Nick, but something was wrong. His face looked just as it had when I saw him on the bike. Alive, warm, smiling, but his clothes were soaked in mud. His hands hung limp, fingers twitching. He opened his mouth, but his jaw didn't move naturally. It cracked, like a hinge rusted from disuse. "Help me." Then his body jerked. His eyes rolled white, and he fell backward into the hallway. By the time I reached him, he was gone. Just wet footprints leading toward the back door. The next day, I couldn't sit still. I called the county office, asked about records from the poor farm, deaths, burials, anything. The woman on the phone hesitated. "Oh, those old ledgers? We don't keep those anymore," she said. "They were all destroyed in the fire." "What fire?" A pause, then a nervous laugh. "There's always been fires out there." That evening, my son came into the room pale-faced, holding his phone. "Mom, you need to see this." He'd gone on Google Maps, looking at satellite images of the farmland. At first it looked normal, patches of grass, the collapsed barn. But then he zoomed in, right behind the oak tree. The dirt looked freshly disturbed in a wide rectangular shape, and just barely visible, a faint outline of a bicycle. That night, the smell of dirt came back stronger than ever. It filled the hallways, thick and wet. The lights didn't flicker anymore. They bled. A dim, reddish glow pulsed from inside the bulbs, like something was alive in them. And through the noise of my own heartbeat, I heard again Nick's voice whispering from the dark. Not alone. More of us. I think Nick's grave wasn't the only one that was moved. I think whatever was buried out, there is waking up, and it's looking for the people who built their homes over its bones. After that night, neither of us slept much. The smell of dirt clung to the air no matter how many candles I burned or windows I opened. Even the dog next door refused to cross the property line. I tried to tell myself it was all coincidence, a grieving mind chasing patterns. But then my son found something that made that impossible to believe. He was searching online through archive property surveys, and buried in a PDF scan from 1983, he found it. A map of the old County Poor farm, with small numbered plots scattered across a field labeled simply as Potter's Ground. Plot number 27 was marked with a faint X, the same number from the metal tag we'd found. NF 27. Nick Fairview, 27 plot. But that wasn't the strangest part. The map's boundary line ran directly underneath our neighborhood. Our homes were built right on top of the burial field. That night, I sat in the living room long after my son went to bed. I couldn't stop staring at the wall, where the light from the kitchen flickered faintly. Once, twice, pause. Once, twice, pause. Morse again. I scribbled it down. Dig. The next morning I did, behind our backyard fence, where the earth dipped slightly. I dug until my shovel hit something solid. It wasn't wood this time. It was concrete, an old foundation slab. There were faint letters carved into it, nearly erased by time. County Poor Farm 1912. And just below that, faint scratches. Newer, as if someone had clawed the cement from the inside, tried to escape. That afternoon, the county sent a man to check a gas line that had apparently tripped. But when I asked about the Poor Farm records, his face went tight. "Ma'am," he said, "I've worked these grounds for 20 years. We found bones under half the town. Animal, human. No one wants to admit how many were dumped here." He leaned closer, lowering his voice. "They told us to seal it, build over it, let the past rot." That's the exact phrase they used. That evening, I sat on the porch. The sky had that pale copper color right before dusk, when everything feels suspended between light and dark. And then I heard it again, the squeak of a bike chain. Slow this time, almost lazy. I stood, my hands shook as I gripped the railing. He appeared just beyond the oak tree at the end of the lane. The same smile, the same steady motion. His eyes caught the last of the sunlight, and for a second, I could have sworn I saw life in him again. He stopped in front of Nick's old house, resting one foot on the ground. Then, without looking at me, he said quietly, "They took us before we could leave." I opened my mouth to speak, but the air shifted. A cool gust swept past, carrying the smell of rain and dirt. When I looked again, he was gone. No sound, no bike, just tire tracks in the dust that ended abruptly in the middle of the road. That night, the lights in the neighborhood began to flicker, house after house, one by one, as if the entire block were breathing together. People came outside, confused, some scared. I saw my son standing in the driveway, mouth open. "Mom, look!" All down the street, faint figures shimmered in the dark, silhouettes moving slowly, almost peacefully, toward the farmland. Dozens of them, maybe more. Men, women, some carrying what looked like old tools, others just walking barefoot, heads bowed. No sound, no screaming, just the low hum of the wind through the grass. And then, as quietly as they'd come, they faded into the field beyond the tree line. The next morning, the dirt smell was gone. So was the flickering. Everything was still. I haven't seen Nick since. The air feels lighter now, but sometimes at night, when the house settles and the heater kicks on, I still hear that faint click-click of a bicycle chain moving through the dark. Not menacing, not sad, just there, like someone making their final rounds. The county sent surveyors a few weeks later. They said they'd found disturbances in the soil behind the neighborhood, unmarked graves. They're putting up a small memorial soon, a plaque just like the one at the high school. It'll probably read something nice and tidy, in memory of those who came before. But I'll know better, because some ghosts don't stay to frighten. Some stay to make sure you finally see them. And sometimes, when I sit on the porch at sunset, I still whisper, "Hello, Nick." The porch light flickers once, and then goes still